we think, we might have one more, but a final scheduled presentation for Koinonia. In the next 3 months, we will be going through our discernment process. We'll be meeting hopefully with everyone at All Saints through small groups. We've been contacting the chair people and scheduling time to meet for a short period of your meeting, so it's not an extra meeting for you. And we're going to start our process by asking questions and getting your feedback about all the wonderful presentations we've had this year. Once we've met with everyone, we will take all that information and try to narrow it down to an organization or ministry that you have an interest to go forward with. And we'll see where the Holy Spirit leads us, but we really need everyone's feedback. It is not the Koinonia team making a decision for All Saints. It is All Saints through prayer, discernment, and the Holy Spirit making that decision. But we hope from all our presentations, and I know we've reached people who said, I want to be a part of that volunteer organization. And maybe I know about 3 people who have joined Meals on Wheels, and maybe this or one of the speakers has called you to their ministry. With that, let us pray. Our collect for Koinonia. God of all creation, fill us with a passion for justice and dignity for each neighbor in our community. Guide and support us through Koinonia to follow your example and your command, to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with you. Transform us through your Spirit to become conduits of your love and compassion in all that we do, so we become reconciled to you and your creation. In the name of the triune God, amen. Our speaker today is Terri Chaney, and she has with her the new director, starting this week, Ann Yeager, who might look familiar to you, because she was here in middle 2000s. So welcome back. Terri is with, and Ann, with the Academic Learning Center. Terry's been an educator for her entire career, and I just heard from Jackie that you all went back to Lumberton together and started. With 34 years in public education and administration. She was the executive director of the Academic Learning Center from 2013 to 2018, and is currently the grant writer and the assistant program manager, and was the interim until Ann has joined. Terry's a deacon and Sunday school director at First Baptist Church in Kannapolis. She and her husband Richard have 2 grown sons and 5 grandchildren, ages 9 to 14. She will share with us the challenges and needs of many of our elementary students and the role of the Academic Learning Center to help meet these needs. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Terri Chaney.
I think we've got so few. I can
but it's
project. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you might need to hold it.
All right.
And
Okay. Good morning. So great to see you, and thank you so much for inviting Ann and me to come this morning and share the Academic Learning Center. We are a nonprofit organization, so if you can just spend a few minutes with us this morning, we'd love to tell about ourselves. We are a nonprofit organization that advocates very strongly for the elementary children of Cabarrus County. Our mission statement actually says, we try or enable students in grades K through 5 who are performing below grade level, at risk of failure, and those that are attending the highest poverty level schools in our county, to reach a year's worth of growth or show progress in reading and math. We develop self-esteem and confidence in children, and we strive to close the achievement gap that's found in so many of our schools. Our background. We really have been around for over 25 years. We began in 1996 in the Logan community at the First Missionary Baptist Church. At that time, parents, grandparents, concerned neighbors of the community wanted to find an opportunity to have a safe haven for the students. After school, they basically were latchkey children, and they felt that these children needed some attention. So they created this program. I think the tutors were volunteers at that time. Excuse my voice. And in 2001, the two school systems, Cabarrus County system and Kannapolis City system, came together and decided we would like to bring more children into this program. At that point, there were like 4 schools in Kannapolis City and 3 or 4 schools in Cabarrus County, and they came together to create what we now say is our free after-school tutoring program. Our program, and that's our focus, is the free after-school tutoring program. We are located in Title I schools. Right now, we are serving 10 schools. We have 3 schools in Kannapolis City and 7 schools in Cabarrus County. And those schools are, and I want to be able to tell you those schools, are Royal Oaks, Beverly Hills, R. Brown McAllister, Carl A. Furr, Rocky River, Winecoff, W.M. Irvin. In Kannapolis, those schools are Forest Park, Jackson Park, and G.W. Carver. And of course, if you know anything about Title I schools, they have a lot of children that qualify for the free and reduced lunch programs. So we're really looking at risk, low-performing, low economic children. That's not to say that we don't serve other children, but 95% of our children come from those elements. Today, the program uses certified teachers to do the actual tutoring after school. We pay stipends to the teachers. They have worked all day on their regular jobs, and so we do pay them a stipend to help tutor the children. And this is very instructional. I'll tell you a little bit more about what our program looks like so that you get a little bit more idea of it. But our goals are to enable elementary children to perform at grade level or close the achievement gap in the schools. We also provide enriching instructional activities that increases the self-esteem and the confidence of children. If you have an educational background, which many of you may, you know that self-esteem and confidence, if a child knows they can learn or thinks they can learn, they will. They're so much more adaptable to the learning experiences when they've had that extra tutoring in the afternoons to prepare them for the next day. Our objectives are to help 75% of the students participating in the academic program to show progress or proficiency. And our second goal or objective is to help 95% of the students to show improved self-confidence and self-esteem. What our school looks like, our programs look like. Many of our students arrive to school unprepared for the day and return home to homes that do not adequately have materials, or parents that either don't speak English or are not prepared to help their children with their homework and activities that prepare them for the next day. So this result continues to be a widening achievement gap that we're seeing, especially in our public schools right now. So what does this program look like right now? Many people, when they hear Academic Learning Center, they think that we have a center somewhere downtown or around, and we bring the children into that center, but that's not the way we work things. As I said, we, many years ago, partnered with Cabarrus County Schools, Kannapolis City Schools, to place these centers in the schools. So the children stay there at the school. We don't have to worry about transportation getting them back to the program. Sometimes we have to worry about transportation getting them back home. But the children stay, they receive a healthy snack, they have some exercise time, and then they go into their tutoring program. we ask these schools to create their own school-based plan because they know their needs. They know the needs of the students after they've looked at end-of-grade scores, at benchmark scores, that type thing. And that's how they select their children to be served. Most of our schools serve from 30 to 50 students in their program. And depending on that school-based plan, we look at that plan, and at that point, the number of students they are going to serve, their degree of Title I designation determines how much money we actually allot them for their programs. We normally allot from $7,000 to $8,000 to run their programs. That is to pay their teachers, that is to purchase any instructional materials they might need, and every child gets a personal reading book when they leave the program. The day begins about 3:15, 3:30 for most of our programs. One program does do a morning before school program because they feel they can get their students there easier than transporting them home in the afternoon. We have a lot of parents that work. That's the type family that we're looking at. As a matter of fact, the average income of the families that we work with range from $40,000 to $45,000 per year. And as you know, the average income for Cabarrus County is about $56,000 to $58,000. So most of our children come from that big need where there's not a library in the home, there's not a lot of reading material in the home. Both parents might work. They might be even living with grandparents. So these children have great needs. And so our after-school program offers catch-up time to help these children be prepared for the next day. Sometimes there's some homework involved in the instructional time, but a lot of it, and of course these are excellent teachers. They know the standard course of study. They've been through, of course, 4 years plus of education. They are certified by the North Carolina Department of Education. They know the needs and they know the curriculum. Someone asked me the other day if we are a unique program in Cabarrus County, and I said we are. We're not the only tutoring program because there are some professional tutoring programs around, but they don't always hire certified teachers. A lot of their teachers might be assistants, they might be some volunteers and so forth, but we do hire, we do pay the teachers right there in the student schools, which is very much a safe haven for those children. And it's so interesting, I hear so often the teachers will come and say, right when the beginning of school starts, brothers and sisters of these children will come up and say, are we going to get to be in the Academic Learning Center? If you ever hear the letters ALC, that's what they call us. They don't say, the children don't call us Academic Learning Center, they call us the ALC. And we are a well-kept secret. A lot of people you may not have known about us. We have really been doing some branding in the last couple of years. You may go by a school and see a yard sign that says Academic Learning Center takes place here, and just getting the word out so that people know. And of course, my job right now, it was before, of course we've hired a new executive director now, and I was the executive director for 5 years, and then my coworker stepped into the position, and now she has taken another job. So I filled in as the interim for a couple of months, which is a wonderful job, and Ann's going to do a wonderful job. But my love, of course, is grant writing, because I can tell everybody exactly what we're doing, because it's such a wonderful program. So I am the grant writer and the program manager, and a lot of other things lately. But our funding basically comes from people like you. We have some churches, and as a matter of fact, if you come to look at the display, there are several. These are old newsletters, but I wanted you to get an idea of what we look like. We need to redo. We need to get a new newsletter out. There's several things that we need to do in the next several months, but the funding for this program is just very important. I write grants constantly to foundations to businesses to programs around locally and across the U.S. We are a small nonprofit. We have a very small budget. There are 3 part-time employees. We do this job each of us in about 20 to 25 hours. So the 3 paid employees, the executive director, the grant writer, program manager, and we have a bookkeeper. Thank goodness for the bookkeeper. The budget for our program runs about $75,000 a year. That includes the teacher's stipends, the instructional materials that they can purchase, and then the reading books for the children. And as I said before, each school is allotted around $7,000 per year to run their programs, their individual programs. The program budget is really about 60 to 65% of our whole budget. So we put a large majority of our funds into the program versus the administration of our program. Over the past 5 years, I have calculated that we have served over 3,000 children. That's just the last 5 years. We normally serve about 500 per year, give or take a little bit. In the school system will serve around 475 or so, and then we have 2 summer programs. We partner with the Boys and Girls Club of Cabarrus County, and we partner with Bethel Enrichment Center, which is in Kannapolis. It's a predominantly African-American church that does a wonderful program. So for the past 2 summers, we have provided certified teachers for those children in that program. They run a program, a full-day program, free breakfast, free lunch. The children come in and have activities all day long, and they have a wonderful gym, and so the children have opportunities in the gym too. So these programs are just as important. So well over 3,000 children. And sometimes our children, and this question has asked, do we replicate the same children each year? Sometimes, yes. We have very transient children. Many of our children move in and out within that first year. Sometimes we can follow them, like if a student comes to Beverly Hills and then moves to the R. Brown, or comes to Kannapolis and moves from one school to another, we can follow those. But if they move out of the system, out of Cabarrus County too, we can't follow them. So children are kind of coming in, and we're porous for sure. But all the children are wonderful that come through, and they love having adults come in and see their program. Our board, which is very strong, and I keep saying to the board, please come and see our programs. Our board is made up of community leaders, the superintendents from both systems, elementary supervisors from both systems, retired teachers from throughout Cabarrus County. And you probably know many of our people on the board. Very strong people. I've talked to you about our partnerships. Back to what the program looks like. As I said before, is that most of our programs are after school. They last for about an hour or an hour and a half, depending on how the school sets theirs up. They usually tutor 1 to 2 days a week. And then if they can get a school bus, which they have in other years, I think we're having problems getting school buses this year, but sometimes they're able to transport those children home after school. Because once again, the problem is getting the parents back at the school to pick them up. So we have situations where some children can't stay for after-school tutoring because the parents can't pick them up. So when we can get a school bus and transport them home, that really affects our program tremendously. I've got notes because I just don't want to forget anything. Effects of COVID-19 on our students. Gosh, I can't begin to tell you the impact that loss of school has made on our children. We know that school stopped abruptly in March 2022. I can tell you the day. It's not 2022, 2020. Thank you for shaking your head. 2020, I can tell you the day, because it was just something we've never experienced. So remotely our children went to school if they could get to the computer. If the computer worked. I even had parents that were right there with them, and some days the computers didn't work, and sometimes it was pretty much a fiasco in many situations. And some children just didn't get to the computer. So if you've been hearing the news, and I've been reading throughout I kept saying, this is horrible, this is horrible. Children have got to be with their teachers, face to face. So I've been reading for 2 years, and just recently they're saying how far behind our children are, not just our low-performing children, but across the board. So, we feel even more that our services are needed for these children. And keep in mind, we work with children kindergarten through 5th grade. And of course, everything we're reading, the research says, if we can get to these children early enough and I hate to say save them, but help them to catch up, it makes all the difference in the world. And one of the things I did want to share with you, and this was something that I kind of wrote in a grant, and I thought it was something that I wanted you to hear. Investing in quality early education for low-income struggling students brings high returns to the families, schools, and society. Giving the gift of education helps to reduce poverty. It boosts our economic growth, increases income, and reduces crime, all in the community, as well as for the student. You think about school being a safe haven and keeping our children off the streets. Even 5th graders don't always go home. So it can reduce juvenile crime and sometimes pregnancies in later life. Illiteracy is a problem for Cabarrus County. ALC offers a strong literacy program through extended instructional time for improving reading and math skills, teachers who are encouragers and positive role models, and that helps to affect the self-esteem of students. As students find success in the elementary school, they will be motivated to achieve in middle school and remain and hopefully graduate from high school. As we help to improve individual students' test scores, the schools receive a higher grade and status on the NC report card. High-ranking schools attract businesses, builders of new homes, and families that we want in our communities. The after-school tutoring program offers a safe and supervised program that can reduce juvenile crime and victimization. One of the things that I'll end with, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And this is a quote from a very wise man called Nelson Mandela. Also, before I close, one of the things that we ask our teachers to send out surveys to the parents to get their approach and how they feel about what their students have experienced for about 7 to 9 weeks. These are just some of the ones. The small group after-school sessions have been wonderful for my student, and the extra practice has helped her a lot. I was very pleased with the tutoring opportunity. As a parent, you know your kid is struggling, but not sure what to do to help. Thanks for the program. All these are from parents of our schools that we've served. My child stated it best. She said, tutoring provides extra help and understanding of things learned in class. But in class, it goes so fast, and sometimes I don't understand it. And I have about 10 to 15 of these quotes from parents saying, and there's such a need out there. So I am open for questions if I can clarify anything. I've worked in this so long, it's all up here, and it's all here too. When the board asked me to help during this interim, I had not planned to do this during the summer. I had a big trip planned. I had several little trips planned. I had my life, but I knew when my grants were due. I knew when everything that I had to do. But I just couldn't, because the organization is here in my heart. And as an educator, I know how important it is for these kids to get that extra leg up, you might want to say. So if I can clarify anything, if I can answer any questions. Yes.
I have a question I'm going to start with. As for those that are not certified teachers but want to volunteer in the schools, how might All Saints, besides donations, but how might we face-to-face help the teachers and these kids.
Great, thank you so much, and that's something that I did mean to talk about. The school systems, and during COVID, no one, even we, couldn't go in the school systems. We could only send things. Now we can get back in the schools. But the school systems have a vetting process that, you know, once we know that you want to volunteer, and it is in the afternoon, keep that in mind, from about 3:30 to 4:30, something like that. But if you are interested, we will sure get you connected. We will get you vetted, and the schools would love to have any volunteers. And you know, even during the day, if you can't do the afternoon time, I'm sure the schools could use you any time during the day. Again, we just need to talk with the principals. They need to get you vetted, and they have that process that they can take care of that. So we welcome that. Thank you.
Good questions. Alice? Hold the Bible, please.
So I know you read some of the anecdotal things that the parents said, but do you have any hard data on, like, did their test scores go up? Did their grades go up from the beginning of the year till the end of the year?
Another great question. Thank you so much. We are very active in testing. Every child is pre-tested when they come into the program using the benchmark testing and so forth that is done in the schools. At the end of the year, whether it be April, May, whatever, at the end of the year, every child that is still in the program is post-tested. One of our problems right now, I cannot give you hard data for the last 2 years. Before, we were averaging, I would say 88% of our children were I won't even say proficient. I can say proficient in reading, 78 proficient in math. In reading, about 95% of our children showed growth. We do look for both because we are working with children sometimes not just one grade level, but sometimes 2 or 3 grade levels below. If it's a 5th grader, I can tell you many of them are at 3rd grade level. The last 2 years, and of course I've been talking with both testing systems, it is difficult, very difficult. Some of our students, let me go back. We have end of grade scores that help us with 3rd through 5th. Then we use benchmark scoring before 1st and 2nd. We've just now picked up kindergarten this year because we feel the need is so great after COVID. But there was no testing, of course, in March of 2020. Then in May of 2021, we had been in school on rotating basis. They'd go to school for a while and out for a while and back to school for a while. So the test scores there, they keep telling me, are just not indicative of what we're seeing. I was hoping 2022 we were going to be able to get viable information, quality hard data, and I'm still working on that because I'm getting different data from each school. What we had previously done was combine all of the schools together because we were using the same kind of data. Right now, this school might use this benchmark, this school might use this benchmark, and then we do have the end of grade data that I'm still trying to decipher. So I will have that hopefully in a couple of months. I've been so engrossed in running the program for this summer, and usually the job for me during the summer is to look at the data, combine the data, and get averages, and that's what I have always done. And to be real, some grants require that hard data. So I apologize, but I am still working on that. As I'm meeting with